When examining the 7 sagas that make up the original Dragon Ball, the King Piccolo saga often stands out among the rest. It is a saga packed with some of the best fights in the series, badass character moments, and a compelling plot centered around the most dangerous villain Earth has ever seen, King Piccolo, returning and wreaking havoc upon its people. Not to mention the themes and symbolism of this saga have likely influenced some other famous storylines found in other manga, such as the Raid on Onigashima in One Piece and the Chimera Ant arc in Hunter x Hunter. However, for as spectacular as some elements of this saga are, upon reread, I found that some of the creative decisions made caused the saga to feel rushed, contrived, and directionless during parts of the story. But don't worry, because today we are here to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of early Dragon Ball's world-altering saga, the King Piccolo saga. My name is JT Videos, and welcome back to Dragon Ball Analysis, where today we are discussing the King Piccolo saga, which covers chapters 135 to 161 of the manga and episodes 102 to 122 of the anime. And before we start, make sure to like, comment, subscribe for more Dragon Ball content. Doing so will help this video in the algorithm and allow other Dragon Ball fans to find the channel. But with all that said, let's jump in to the saga. We last left off on a grisly sight, the deceased corpse of Krillin with the tournament announcer revealing that a monster killed him and stole Goku's Dragon Ball in the tournament roster. As a result, we watch Goku act in a way that quite frankly we have never seen before, recklessly. While yes, Goku might rush into fights without much regard for his safety or well-being, this is different, because this time Goku is leading with pure rage. The only thought in his mind is to be an avenger, exacting revenge on the monster who killed his best friend. This also leads to a startling revelation, as the announcer hands Master Roshi a note left by the monster that has a seal not seen in years inscribed upon it, the seal of the great demon king, Piccolo. Master Roshi's backstory is one of my favorite moments in the entire saga, as he recounts the previous time King Piccolo attacked Earth, a battle that involved Master Roshi, the Crane Hermit, and their master, Mutaito. Mutaito is able to trap King Piccolo inside an electric rice cooker thanks to a powerful technique known as the Mafuba, a technique that saved the world but cost Mutaito his life. I won't lie, I'm an absolute sucker for lore drops like this, as it really helps establish the history of both the world and characters we are following, but also helps us to understand why Roshi has been so focused on cultivating this next generation. Roshi himself has faced a world-ending threat before, and now is the catalyst for protecting the world a second time, serving as the one to prepare the next generation for an event such as this. This also clearly sets the stage for the 4 main groups in play during this saga. Group 1, which consists of Goku, who stole Bulma's Dragon Radar and is currently searching for the man who killed Krillin. Group 2, which consists of Bulma, Puar, Oolong, Yamcha, and Launch, who quite frankly don't do much outside of building Master Roshi a new Dragon Radar. Group 3, which consists of Master Roshi, Tien, and Chaozu, who are going to collect the Dragon Balls before King Piccolo himself can. And Group 4, led by the man who is the namesake of this saga, King Piccolo. King Piccolo is unlike any other being we have seen in the series so far, looking more like an alien than anything else. He is large, traversing the globe in an airship while resting on a throne as he towers above his assistant Piano and the Pilaf gang. Oh yeah, they're back, and the entire reason the world finds itself once again at the mercy of King Piccolo is because of them. You see, somehow the Pilaf gang found the rice cooker that housed King Piccolo at the bottom of the ocean, freed him, and divulged all the information they have on the Dragon Balls. Now, overlooking the obvious questions of how the gang found the electric rice cooker, their motivations are actually somewhat logical here, as they align themselves with King Piccolo in the hopes that when he conquers all of the world, he will allow them to rule a small portion of it. I mean, hey, that's Pilaf logic for you, but it works nonetheless. King Piccolo's motivations, however, are twofold. First, he is looking to gather the 7 Dragon Balls in order to wish for eternal youth, looking to use his regained strength to conquer the world, and second, he has sent his minions to track down and kill as many martial artists as they can find, preventing anyone from using the Mafuba on him again. I really like both of these motivations as they both tell us something about King Piccolo and his personality. King Piccolo is a being that wants to do things his own way, and is not afraid to get his hands dirty, choosing to regain strength in order to conquer the world on his own rather than than simply wish for world domination. However, he also does not want to put his life on the line when he doesn't have to, willing to create servants to carry out any dirty work that he fears could potentially cause him trouble, such as disposing of martial artists around the globe. Oh, and speaking of, King Piccolo is able to create pawns by spitting an egg out of his mouth. Yeah, stay tuned, this is a very important ability. And on that note, the only pawn currently out in the field is a winged demonic creature known as Tambourine. The one responsible for killing Krillin and the one who is about to come face to face with Goku. I'm not going to spend too much time on this fight because oh boy do we have so many others to cover in this episode, but a few important things happen that set the stage for what is to come. Tambourine is able to overpower and defeat Goku, and while this was in large part due to Goku still being worn out from his fight with Tien, it is significant nonetheless. But Tambourine also manages to destroy the Flying Nimbus, something that you might feel is a plot hole since the old man back in Jingle Village said that a Flying Nimbus can't be destroyed. But this was further explained in the 7th Dragon Ball Encyclopedia, where it is stated that demonic powers can be used to destroy the Flying Nimbus. Not that it's super important, but wanted to make note of it just to show that it's not a big plot hole as it was, I guess, retconned later. Goku's defeat here sets the stage for the remainder of the saga and also serves as a fantastic example of dramatic irony. His failure to return to the tournament arena causes Master Roshi to conclude that Goku was slain in battle, placing he, Tien, and Chaozu as the last 3 capable fighters left to stop King Piccolo. King Piccolo decides to create a second pawn, Symbol, to search for the remaining Dragon Balls, opening up Tambourine to solely focus on wiping out the remaining martial artists around the world. I love that each of these groups is operating on different pieces of information. It not only builds tension, but also gives us a better idea as to the inner workings of each character's mind, placing them in a diverse set of circumstances that force them to react in different ways. The biggest revelation out of these groups, however, is made by Goku, who encounters a new ally after eating his broiled fish, a man named Yajirobe. Yajirobe is a character that, to be honest, I feel creates a ton of narrative problems for this saga, but this mainly comes from how his character is utilized in both Dragon Ball Z and Super, but more on that in future installments. Yajirobe is like Goku in many ways, but somehow even less complex. He doesn't care about training, he doesn't care about friends, he just cares about food. You might think that this means he is a pushover in a fight, but this can't be further from the truth. So, yeah, Yajirobe is capable of defeating a demon in one slash and also has the 1-star Dragon Ball, something that makes him a target once King Piccolo learns of Symbol's death. Believe it or not though, Yajirobe managing to defeat Symbol actually saved Yamcha from King Piccolo's wrath, as Tambourine is directed to take care of the being that killed Symbol, diverting his attention away from Yamcha, who was the next martial artist he was planning to attack. This ultimately leads to Tambourine's defeat at the hands of Goku, both utilizing his power pole to launch a brilliant Kamehameha on Tambourine and showing that once he has a full stomach, not even King Piccolo's pawns stand a chance against him. While I will discuss the dynamic between Yajirobe and Goku later in this video, the focus right now is the impending conflict between Goku and King Piccolo, who arrives at the battlefield and decides to take out the human who defeated Tambourine on his own. Goku's initial fight against King Piccolo is meant to show us the depth of King Piccolo's power, and how he matches up against Goku, the strongest character in the series we have seen so far. And while King Piccolo shows that the legends told about him were not mere myths, but rather the cold hard truth. While we do see Goku manage to land a few decent hits on King Piccolo, they do not amount to much, with King Piccolo easily taking over the fight and appears to even kill Goku. Is Goku really dead? Well, we'll have to discuss this in the next section of this video, but this section does a very nice job establishing how big of a threat Piccolo truly is. Up until now, we've heard King Piccolo complain about how he needs to regain his youth in order to return to the height of his powers, misleading the audience to believe that in his current state, Piccolo is nothing more than a shell of his former self, being capable of defeating skilled martial artists like Goku, Roshi, or Tien, and placing extra emphasis on his mission to gather the Dragon Balls before facing a perceived threat. However, this battle completely recontextualizes this, serving as a fantastic swerve by Toriyama, showing that Piccolo's fears are potentially unjustified. And right before our eyes, he was capable of defeating the human who we know is currently Earth's strongest fighter. And while we will return to check on Goku, who, as you might have guessed, is certainly not dead, before we do, I want to shift our attention to the group that has been placed as the last obstacle between King Piccolo and world domination, Master Roshi, Tien, and Chaozu. Earlier I brought up Toriyama's fantastic use of dramatic irony, so to set the stage for what is to come, let's flesh out what Master Roshi and his allies currently know regarding the current lay of the land. The trio believe that Goku was killed in battle, and have also heard stories about former allies such as Nam also having been killed by the Demon King. Yamcha is currently incapacitated due to his leg break that he suffered during the World Tournament, leaving only Roshi, Tien, and Chiaotzu to deal with this calamity. Not only does Master Roshi plainly state that the three of them do not stand a chance against King Piccolo, but he also did not learn the Mafuba from Master Mutaito, meaning that as things currently stand, there's only one shot for them to achieve victory, to gather the 7 Dragon Balls and wish for King Piccolo to be eradicated. This gives us great insight into the chess-like strategy employed by Master Roshi, and also causes us, the audience, to strategize with them, especially when we are made aware of the 2 trump cards currently in the trio's possession. 5 Dragon Balls they gathered thanks to Bulma's new Dragon Radar, and Tien's belief that Master Roshi secretly does know how to use the Mafuba. But before the trio can strategize further, King Piccolo uses his Dragon Radar, conveniently created for him by the Pilaf gang. Yeah, can't forget that they had something capable of tracking the Dragon Balls all the way back in the Fortune Teller Baba saga, meaning that a confrontation between the trio and the monsters seeking to conquer the world is now imminent. The trio is presented with a clear game of attack. They will bury the 5 Dragon Balls in the ground to hide them from King Piccolo. Roshi and Tien will steal King Piccolo's balls, and while they hold him off, Chiaotzu will summon Shenron and wish for King Piccolo to be eradicated. An ingenious plan that goes up in flames as King Piccolo decides to eat the 2 Dragon Balls he has gathered, leaving the group with only one choice to achieve victory: attack. The thing I love about this section goes back to something I mentioned earlier, the strategy employed by both groups, with each showing their true psychological mastery, thinking 2 steps ahead of their opponent. With Piccolo wanting to force a confrontation with those who oppose him, while Roshi sought a path where victory involved the least amount of fighting possible. But, with Roshi now forced to partake in King Piccolo's game, he does something interesting. He sprays Tien with a gas that immobilizes him and demands that Chiaotzu remain hidden, as he prepares to face off against King Piccolo by himself. Now, you might expect that Roshi would go all out, giving us an epic clash between the Demon King and the pupil of the man who defeated him last time he attacked Earth. And in most manga, this would be a reasonable expectation. But here, we get the opposite. Roshi simply throws out a rice cooker, frightening King Piccolo, and performs the Mafuba, failing to properly seal King Piccolo, and utters these final words. But, if you think you can relax now, you're mistaken. Someday, there will come someone who will defeat you and save the world. I believe that. And with that warning to King Piccolo, we watch as the man that has cultivated the next generation of warriors and who protected the Earth the last time it was attacked, falls over dead. I know that you are all likely tired of me discussing the theme of preparing the next generation of fighters, but I truly can't get across enough how this entire scene emphasizes this. Roshi is unable to save the world, possibly due to his old age or losing his step, signifying that even if he wanted to continue protecting the Earth on his own, it is no longer possible. In spite of his extensive experience and impressive strength, Roshi recognized that he is no longer capable of achieving victory, and chose to give the world one last chance to survive, making the decision to incapacitate Tien to allow him to have a shot at defeating King Piccolo if he failed. And well, things somehow manage to get even worse when Chiaotzu becomes the second casualty of King Piccolo. Attempting to interrupt King Piccolo's wish for eternal youth, he is killed in one mighty blast from the Demon King, and facing no opposition, King Piccolo's wish is granted. If you've not read or watched Dragon Ball before, it is really hard to emphasize just how dire the circumstances facing the world are right now. The tension comes not only from the fact that King Piccolo managed to regain his youth and return to the height of his power, but he's also managed to do something we didn't know was possible before now. He kills Shenron, meaning no more wishes can be made through the use of the Dragon Balls. Krillin, Master Roshi, and Chiaotzu will not be able to be brought back to life. From here on out, if someone dies, there is no method by which you can bring them back. With the vast majority of our heroes firmly believing that Goku is dead as well, Tien sees himself as a last hope for the Earth. But this isn't necessarily the case, as somehow, someway, Goku survived. So before I start this section, I want to say I'm going to be extremely critical here. Arguably more critical than I have been in any other part of this series so far. There are many creative decisions made by Akira Toriyama that seemingly contradict preconceived rules of this world at best, and at worst appear to be extremely rushed and made for the sake of convenience rather than telling a cohesive story. However, I will acknowledge something said by Akira Toriyama himself that might explain where these issues stem from. Toriyama acknowledged that during the release of the King Piccolo saga, he caught the flu and experienced sensations of a fuzzy head while also finding it impossible to stand due to the pain that had overtaken his body, saying that his strength simply ran out because of this. Toriyama goes as far as to say, quote, "I'm sure there are weak parts in the story too." I want to point this out because Toriyama is a fantastic writer and artist. And when there are lore and story issues like the ones we are about to discuss, it makes things more clear and we understand what he was dealing with during the creation of this section of the story. So props to Toriyama for pushing through this and acknowledging some shortcomings in his writing during this section, but unfortunately I have to confess that this part of the manga was some of the weakest overall. Let's start off with the very thing many of you are wondering. How did Goku manage to survive his bout with King Piccolo? Now you might expect that Goku was saved by an object that prevented him from getting hit with the full brunt of King Piccolo's attack, or he invented a technique that caused his opponent to fully believe that he had died. Well, no. In fact, his heart just restarted. While there is a real-world explanation that could actually work for this, if you're interested, look up the Lazarus phenomenon. This comes off as nothing more than plot armor for the main character, but it gets worse from here, because the Flying Nimbus was destroyed by Tambourine, Goku asks Yajirobe to drive him back to Korin Tower, as he wants to ask Korin for more training so he can overcome the difference in power between he and King Piccolo. Not a bad idea, and hey, we even have an appearance from Bora and Upa, but this is when we have another action that completely takes you out of the story, as Yajirobe manages to scale Korin Tower with Goku on his back, on his very first try. Just to emphasize how ridiculous this is, prior to Yajirobe performing this feat, the only people known to have been capable of traversing this tower was Goku and Master Roshi, with Goku struggling to reach the top the very first time he attempted this. Yet Yajirobe was able to pull this off relatively easily, while also carrying Goku on his back, no less. Just to take a step back in order to attempt to justify this creative decision, Yajirobe has been the only person other than Goku to be shown to have the power capable of defeating a minion of King Piccolo. So heck, maybe at this point in the story you could argue that Yajirobe might be on the same level as Tien and Goku. But due to me knowing what happens to Yajirobe in future arcs, this entire feat makes zero sense based on where his character goes after this. More on this in future videos like I mentioned earlier. However, this is not the worst part of the saga. That comes from Korin himself, introducing us to the ultra-divine water. After Goku manages to regain his strength thanks to his sensu bean, Korin informs him of two important pieces of information. That Master Roshi has died and that he has no more lessons that he can impart to Goku. However, Korin does reveal that there is something that could work in this situation. The ultra-divine water. Water of the gods that is said to draw out all hidden strength within a person. However, this comes with a great risk, as the water is extremely toxic, and unless your body manages to fight the poison and win, you will die. In fact, 14 people have tried to drink the ultra-divine water, and all 14 died. Of course, Goku's resolve causes him to take part in the challenge, but from a narrative sense, this does not work for me at all. Like I discussed back during the Red Ribbon Army saga, Goku not simply gaining powers based on drinking the holy water worked because we got to see Goku work and grow as a fighter, becoming faster and stronger during his training with Korin. To use the Pokemon analogy again, you form bonds with your Pokemon through intense battles and hours of training during the main story of each game, causing the final Elite Four fights to feel extremely rewarding, based on the fact that you grew with your team and managed to overcome a major obstacle or obstacles throughout your journey. Here, Goku quite simply drinks water and gains power. Yes, the water is poison, but once Goku managed to survive King Piccolo's attack, was there even really a question that he would survive this? And to give the anime some credit here, Goku is forced to traverse through a dream-like location once he takes the water, but in the manga, he just simply survives and gains new power. Something we know thanks to Korin feeling a massive amount of power flowing through Goku. This sets the stage for the final conflict of this saga. Goku is gifted a new Flying Nimbus by Korin, with it also being revealed that he gifted Master Roshi the original Flying Nimbus back in the day, as Goku takes off to confront King Piccolo. But hey, let's quickly check back in with Tien and Piccolo to see what they've been up to. Tien somehow taught himself the Mafu Bump. How? No clue, but he is also on his way to challenge King Piccolo, who has managed to overthrow the King of Earth, a dog, something he pulled off after ridding himself of the Pilaf gang, but don't worry, they will also be back later. Back to our main characters though, the strength of King Piccolo is frightening, showing that with a simple blast he is capable of destroying a town, making a public broadcast to announce that each year, in order to commemorate his rise to power, a day, also known as King Piccolo Commemoration Day, will happen. where he will draw a numbered piece of paper, with each piece of paper representing the 43 provinces of Earth, and will destroy whatever province is drawn. This emphasizes that King Piccolo doesn't have some extreme, complex motivations or desire to seek vengeance of some kind. He is simply just the embodiment of evil, a being who finds joy in the death and suffering of others, wanting nothing more than chaos and carnage to sweep the land while he watches from his ivory tower. Things are made much worse when the first province to be destroyed by King Piccolo turns out to be West City, Bulma's hometown and the base of Capsule Corp. And while Bulma freaks out about her parents' safety, thankfully an obstacle has placed itself firmly in front of King Piccolo. That obstacle being Tien Shinhan. There are two things that make the initial confrontation between Tien and King Piccolo stand out. One good and one bad. To start with the good, the confrontation is being broadcast around the world, meaning that everyone is aware of and currently viewing the match between Tien and King Piccolo. Causes this to feel like a bout between two skilled martial artists, with the prize being the very Earth itself. Now, the bad, Tien managed to accidentally crack the rice cooker during his training and now is incapable of using it to perform the Mafuba. Nope, I'm not kidding. Now look, I get not wanting to simply allow Tien to use a Mafuba and achieve victory with zero stakes or anxiety, but choosing to go about it this way not only makes Tien's entire training appear pointless, but also makes Tien look incompetent. This leaves Tien with only one option, fighting King Piccolo himself, only using his raw power to achieve victory. An idea that King Piccolo immediately squashes when he shoots out a new egg from his mouth, hatching a monster named Drum, who fights Tien instead. The fight between Drum and Tien shows the massive gap in strength between he and King Piccolo, with Tien, the man who currently holds the title as strongest under the heavens and able to defeat a peon of the king. And as Drum prepares to land a finishing blow on Tien, an ally arrives on the scene.
Must be dreaming! That runt!
Goku not only saves Tien, but also defeats Drum with a single punch, starting the battle that many would consider to be one of the best in not only early Dragon Ball, but in the entire series, Goku versus King Piccolo. In many ways, Goku and King Piccolo share many similarities in this arc. They are both beings of immense power, both have lost comrades in the heat of battle, and both gain massive power-ups through methods other than training. But there is something Tien points out after watching Goku throw King Piccolo around with his newfound power. Another characteristic that the two share is that they are both powerful monsters. Discussing the fight itself, I'm not quite sure what to say, because I'm not sure I can properly put into words how great the paneling, scenery, and attacks are in this section. This fight is not only stellar in the artistry department, but the action is so fluid that each panel perfectly flows and causes you to feel like you are experiencing the fight yourself rather than simply looking at pictures on a page. The battle is also a back and forth endeavor, with Goku and Piccolo appearing to be evenly matched, with the battle going in favor of Goku at certain points, then back in favor of Piccolo at others. This catches the attention of not only the former king of the world, but also Bulma's team, who are currently en route to the battle to support Tien. But as they hear news about a young kid battling against King Piccolo, Bulma recalls the fortune made by fortune teller Baba, the fortune claiming that Goku would one day save the world. Recalling this fortune just gets your adrenaline pumping. After watching Goku show off new skills such as being able to control the direction of his Kamehameha and using the power pole to land impressive combo moves, we truly feel like the young kid that we have been following for this entire time has finally reached a new level of power. But unfortunately, King Piccolo also reaches a new level of power when he unleashes all of his strength and sends a massive blast towards Goku, one that he manages to survive thanks to intervention from Tien. However, this is when King Piccolo unleashes his final gambit, launching another massive attack that separates Goku from Tien, allowing Tien to fall into King Piccolo's hands, which allows him to control the tide of battle, using Tien as a hostage. While Goku initially throws caution to the wind, saying that if Tien dies, he will simply use the Dragon Balls to revive him, King Piccolo reminds us that any death moving forward is permanent, as there is no way to revive a deceased individual since he killed Shenron, breaking Goku's spirit and forcing him to play by King Piccolo's rules. This is when one of the best moments in all of the series occurs, as Piccolo manages to injure Goku's arm and leg, causing him to fall to the ground. He flies into the sky and launches himself at Goku, preparing to end him with one final strike. A strike that will signify the end of the world as we know it. However, with his back against the wall, Goku shouts, "You forgot something. I still got one arm, and through the use of a one-handed Kamehameha, he launches himself at King Piccolo. The two powerful opponents flying towards each other, changing this battle from a contest of strength and skill to one that will be decided on the will to win. As Piccolo braces himself, preparing to block Goku's attack, he watches Goku flies forward with the full power of his ape spirit behind him, flying through King Piccolo. Breaking his body with the sheer force of his unbreakable spirit and desire to win, Goku has defeated King Piccolo and saved the Earth. As I've mentioned before, Goku is not your typical hero. Goku doesn't do things for the good of humanity or because he feels some innate desire to be righteous. He acts to protect those he cares for, and to protect those who don't have the power to protect themselves, especially when those vulnerable individuals are his friends. Goku's will to win came not from a desire to rid the world of evil, but out of a desire to allow his best friend, Krillin, and mentor, Master Roshi, to finally rest in peace, to defeat the monster that ravaged their bodies and caused them to feel pain. While Goku is powerful in his own right, his power also comes from his friend, and his innate desire to protect those who love him. As heartbreaking as Krillin and Master Roshi's deaths were, it is not an understatement to say that without these deaths, Goku would not have managed to beat King Piccolo. But it is not only the desire to protect his friends that causes Goku to fight, it is also the principle edified by Master Roshi, to always keep improving in both mind and body, as there will always be someone out there stronger than you, and because of this, we were given one of the best fights in the series. Beautiful way to welcome in the next generation of fighters, led by the star pupil of Roshi, Son Goku. This saga's ending leaves us with more questions than answers. As Yajirobe drives Goku back to Korin Tower in order to be healed, there are two major questions left unanswered. First, with Shenron being destroyed, is there any way to revive Krillin, Master Roshi, Chaozu, and all the others killed by King Piccolo? And second, what will happen with the egg thrown up by King Piccolo at his death? An egg that is hatched, revealing a creature that looks exactly like King Piccolo. While those around the world celebrate, it appears that things might have gotten even more complicated. How will these issues be resolved, and what will happen with the creature created by King Piccolo? All of these questions will be answered sooner than later, as next time, we will be discussing the final saga in the original Dragon Ball series, one that surrounds a fan-favorite event, the 23rd World Tournament. And that does it for the King Piccolo saga, a saga that is frustrating, as it contains some of the best and worst elements of Dragon Ball. But I hope you all enjoyed it. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with a friend, and be on the lookout for more videos such as Rebooted MCU, Fixing the Multiverse Saga, and Dragon Ball Analysis, all coming soon. But until next time, this has been JT Videos, and I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day.